Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to We're the Harrises with Super Bowl champion Chris Harris Jr., Shelby Harris, current NFL player with the Cleveland Browns, and me, Ryan Harris, champion of Super Bowl 50 alongside Chris Harris Jr. Fellas, how we doing today after the first weekend of football?
Doing good. Hey, just excited to have football back. You already know, it's lumps and bruises all throughout the season. We just got to, stick with it.
Yeah, doing good, man. Excited to be on with y'all fellas and, talk ball, talk about all life, talk about everything, what's going on in the world. So it's going to be fun, man. I'm excited to join y'all fellas.
Well, let's get started, and let's talk about first the top three quarterbacks as you two saw it throughout week one. What'd you see?
Man, my top quarterbacks right now, I thought Dak Prescott went out there and played a solid game. I thought C.J. Stroud looked impressive. And Justin Herbert, even though the numbers went wild, he stayed within the system of what they needed to do, and it was an impressive win versus the Raiders. Oh, man, let me add one more, Baker Mayfield, because he was cooking too. So, those guys came out there and played solid. And, a lot of quarterbacks struggled, but those guys came in ready to roll.
Yeah, man, I thought, C.J. Stroud, just building off of from last year, it just, step by step, and then and making plays for them to win the game. When you're losing the game and you come back and you do the things needed to win the game, that's a top quarterback to me. Justin Herbert, for me, has always been a top guy, like a guy who you can depend on. And, like you said, the stats don't necessarily, show that, but, the wins do. and Baker, Baker, ever since he left Cleveland, has really been showing out and doing everything that's needed of him in Tampa. Now, Dak, I think Dak just had an okay game. He's still a top quarterback in my book, a definite MVP candidate, but I would say the positions that we were put in helped him out a lot when it came to, the overall play.
Uh-huh.
For me, guys, my first quarterback is one that you two mentioned, Baker Mayfield. 4 touchdowns, hitting the windows and cover 2, red zone efficiency. And the thing we got to remember, hey, we're all dads on this show. Baker Mayfield became a dad between last year and this year, so now he's staying a couple 30 minutes to 3 hours at the facility, right? Getting some extra film in. I mean, his performance, anybody playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers better look out. And then you also got Derek Carr. I thought Derek Carr had a fantastic game, near 79% completion percentage. Those Saints are a little dangerous too. But can we get some love? I know there's Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. Can we get some love for Sam Darnold coming out? It may be the only time this year we get to say his name as one of the top quarterbacks, but went in, had a big victory, utilized the weapons around him. Those are my top 3 quarterbacks after week one. But what do you guys think about that effect of having a kid like Baker Mayfield did? How did having a child change you guys as pros?
Yeah. Oh, man, it just makes you more hungry. You want to be able to do everything that you can to give that kid some generational wealth and set them up to succeed. And you just have an extra motivation out there on the field to go out there and ball, So I remember my first time having my daughter come to a game, and getting a pick and be able to get the flip naming the game ball after my daughter, So just things like that just give you that extra motivation to go out there and play harder.
I just think that, when you have a kid, it's the extra motivation, but also you get that dad strength. You really get that, you get that power, you get that extra, those superpowers, because especially, Chris has a bunch of, when you have little girls, you got to go out there and be their hero. You got to go out there and be something they can look up to, and even with the sons. But I feel like when my daughter was born, when Evelyn was born, we played the Steelers 2 days later, and then I had the game-winning interception. It's just something about it that it truly just uplifts you and empowers you to be the best player that you can be.
I want to key
Right.
into on what you said there, Shelby. 2 days after your child, you were playing in a game. I tell people all the time,
Yeah.
hey, the NFL, you get a day. And I had my son, one of my coaches who you guys know, he's like, hey, congratulations, send a picture. Like I had to prove that I was having my baby so that I could miss practice. It's a wild, wild world. All right, next, let's go to 3 teams who are better than their record. Shelby, start us off.
I don't want to sound biased. I don't want to sound biased, but the Cleveland Browns have to be up there, for one of the teams that we just didn't play up to our potential. But potential is the worst thing that any team could have because that means it's unrealized. You know what I mean? So I would say Cleveland Browns, the Baltimore Ravens. You go out there, you play the defending Super Bowl champs. That's tough. It's tough to be able to go out there, play the Super Bowl champs, and then come out just short. And they were just a toenail away from winning that game. And then I would say the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons, Kirk Cousins coming out there, first game after Achilles. Same with, Aaron Rodgers, first game after Achilles, not necessarily playing his best ball, but with the team that they assembled over there in Atlanta, especially in the NFC South, which I don't think is the strongest division, I think that he'll be able to mount some victories and eventually be able to compete for the NFC South Championship.
Right. I got the Colts, man. I love what Anthony Richardson did. They lost a nail biter, a tough game. So I think that they're going to be a team that's going to be right there in the games every week. They're going to definitely have a chance to win. Like Shelby said, Baltimore, starting out 0-1, but they had definitely a lot of chances to beat the Chiefs. And then I'm gonna go with Cleveland. I think offensively they didn't play the best way that they know how to play, and then Chubb will be coming pretty soon. So they would be probably my 0-1 team. And I think their defense is gonna ramp up. I think y'all defense is gonna ramp up as y'all keep going. As the offense, y'all need a little help on the offensive side, but I think y'all gonna bounce back. One of my teams to bounce back.
Man, you gotta think about it like this though. You got a bunch of players who haven't played together all preseason, and this is pretty much, the first preseason game where we have both our tackles are out. You have receivers that haven't really played. It's with offense, it's all about the continuity. It's all about gelling together and playing good football together. So once we really hit the ground running, it's going to be tough to stop. And the defense, other than that second quarter, played a hell of a game. So we really gotta, it's all about sticking together and just, working together for that common goal.
Now, I want to take 2 things that y'all talked about. Let's talk about the Ravens and the Chiefs. Lamar Jackson, he said after the game, I still think it was a touchdown. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm just, as a veteran in the NFL, you have to accept the reality. And the reality is the Chiefs own the Ravens. We're not even talking about what happened last year in the playoffs, right? Because that was ownership as well by the Chiefs. What do you think the Ravens have to do to get over that bugaboo? I mean, for me, when I was playing, that was the Patriots. Like you have to exceed force with the Patriots. That's the rule you learn from them, right? But what do the Ravens have to do to get over the hump against the Chiefs, as they probably will see them in the playoffs?
You got to contain Lamar Jackson. You got to contain Patrick Mahomes. If you notice in that game, any time that Patrick Mahomes broke the pocket, he made the Ravens pay. Every time that he was able to buy more time, he made the Ravens pay.
So what's the defensive? How do you do that? I mean, everybody wants to, but are you spying? Are you blitzing on the edges? How do you get that mix up to make sure you can stop him from extending the play?
You got to have disciplined edge rushers. You can't get too far upfield. You can't try to spin underneath, and you really just have to play. And I hate to say it, you have to play the perfect game. You have to keep him riled up in the pocket. You have to keep him off, his timing off. But that's the thing. I know we all saw that clip of Travis Kelce going zig in, zig out, zig in, zig out, and then finally getting open. But that's what they do when Patrick Mahomes get out the pocket. Now you have to be able to keep him in, and then you have a chance. But like Mahomes, that's why he's already at his young age already one of the greatest, because this is what he does. He makes you pay when you become undisciplined.
The Ravens, in order to beat them, they got to run the football. And they ran more, but it was more Lamar Jackson. I think they got to get Derrick Henry more in the game, get him rolling, because they got to keep the ball away from this guy. That's the best way to beat him, is don't let this guy have the football. So time management. Also, they had a lot of busts in the secondary, right? But you cannot have mental errors or busts versus Mahomes. He's going to make you pay. So those 2 or 3 mental errors versus him that could lead to, 14 points, that'll kill you in a game versus Mahomes, because he's going to make you pay when you can't have many mistakes at all. So I would say get that run game back going, and then also find Likely, right? You see you got a mismatch right there with the tight end, right? So use him. I didn't see too much of Mark Andrews out there, but you got a mismatch right there with number 80.
Well, you said it. I mean, Isaiah Likely's so good, you were looking for Mark Andrews, right? And
Yeah.
I agree with you. You got to run that football. I mean, you got Derrick Henry. I mean, that wears on a defense. I don't care if it's a 2-3 yard run. Hey, I'll punt after 3 straight runs and having him run over the defenders 3 straight times. I'll take that punt. But you guys are absolutely right. In that first game, I know the challenges as an offense communicating, and it's bigger on the road, right? If you're on the road as an offense in your first game, especially if you're against a division opponent, it's hard to communicate. What makes it tough to communicate for defensive players in that first game? Is it guys not realizing they have to communicate, not paying attention to what's going to matter in the game? How do you guys see it?
I just think it's a matter of, it's that first game, you're getting a bunch of looks you haven't seen before. And you kind of, every team's not just going to do what they just did last year. Every team's going to add another layer to their offense or a layer to their defense. And so it's a matter of really just trying to stay within yourself. And when you see something you haven't seen, don't freak out and make the wrong call. Don't just be natural, just relax. And that's why, as a defensive player, the biggest thing is just make a call and live to fight another down.
Yeah.
Don't make a call that's just all or nothing and it blows up in your face and now it's a touchdown. And especially with Mahomes, if you have those miscommunications, that's where he's going to beat you. But if you can just weather the storm and then figure it out later, you'll be in a lot better shape.
Yeah. And it depends on the continuity you have with your team, right? It's always hard playing the Chiefs or Eagles or Cowboys. Why? Because they pretty much had their same core for the past 5 years.
Yes.
Right? So they can all communicate. They all can be on the same game plan a lot faster than a lot of teams right now that are, like Shelby said, new offense, new guys. That's the same way on the defensive side, right? Like Denver, you got a fresh new guy, Riley Moss out there. You got new guys out there that hadn't played before, right? So they're getting into it in the game plan. They're seeing new looks that they've never seen. And then also the game's a lot faster than what they expect, especially that first game. I would say the NFL's faster at the beginning, then it gets a little slow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody's not. We're banged up a little bit, right? Not everybody's running 4 threes every play at the end of the season, right? Tyreek Hill, he's the outlier, right? But it gets slower. So that's all you got to do, man. You got to prepare extra hard. And I seen it all weekend. I seen bust all weekend in coverages, miscommunication all weekend, and that's offense is going to thrive off that until defense get caught up.
But you got to realize this too. These teams will draft these new rookies and they're going to use them. They're going to find new ways to use them. Just like you saw the Chiefs with Xavier Worthy, they're going to find ways to implement them into their offense. And so when they do, you just have to be ready for it. The teams, when you got these high draft picks, they drafted them high for a reason. They're going to use them. And so it's just all about implementing these new guys into the system. And it's like, the new toy on Christmas. They're going to get the most out of it. And just like with Derrick Henry when he came, from the Ravens, I expected him to be used more.
Me too.
And I believe that they became one-dimensional because obviously when he was off the field, it was a pass. And when he was on the field, they were trying to use him to run or just go to the flats. But you just have to expect throughout the season, it's going to be little tinks and little changes to the offenses where, they're not so predictable.
And I want to double click on one thing Shelby said too. And when you guys are the offense, we love here when you guys are communicating and having problems because now we know, right? I mean, that's the other thing I think young defenders don't know. If you say, hey, wait, what are we doing? You just gave it up. Like, it's over. We all know you don't know what you're doing. And so, I mean, if I'm the quarterback, and you guys know a guy like Patrick Mahomes, he's listening to everything the defense is saying. So if you start talking or making a call that's make or break, like Shelby said, well, we already know there's opportunity there because you guys don't know what you're doing yet. I want to touch real quick, though. The Indianapolis Colts, Chris, you said they're better than their record. I agree. Anthony Richardson, what was it, four passes over 30 yards? One of them went 65 yards in the air. I mean, when you guys as defenders, when you're going against a quarterback who can throw the ball like that, how does that change even how you play the run?
Man, he makes it tough because, with the power running that he is, he's a big, stronger guy, right? And he can throw a bomb like that, after ducking and then leaning back 70, 60 yards and hit him right in the chest, that's a DB's nightmare because we got to cover longer, right? We know the play is going to be longer, right? And if he does scramble, we got to hit this big guy, right? So the Colts, they're going to be tough, man, all year long. They're going to be in these dog fights and just, CJ Stroud is just a little bit better, right? He's just better right now at this stage. He can throw better. He has more. He's more of a complete quarterback right now than Richardson. But if this guy stays on his track record, he has the talent to really shake up the league.
I agree.
I think the biggest thing with Anthony Richardson is that he doesn't have the reps.
Yeah.
It's just in college he only had really 1 year, and then he got hurt after a couple games last year, and that's the difference between him and C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud has played in a lot of games.
Yeah.
C.J. Stroud has all the reps and he has them in high pressure situations, and so that composure that comes with C.J. Stroud is way different than Anthony Richardson. But when you have a guy that can stretch the field like that, like Chris said, you have to cover 60, 70 yards downfield. There is no, we're out of his range. You know what I mean? He can't throw. You have to start coming back. There is none of that. You have a guy who, also with Anthony Richardson, a guy that can break down and give you 20 yards on the ground, 30 yards on the ground at any given time. Well, granted, since his shoulder injury, he's going to have to chill on how aggressive he chooses to be. But when you have a guy that can be the complete package like that, it's terrifying to defenses because it's like they can hurt us on the ground. But even when they do try to throw it, he can outthrow our coverage. Or, we commit all the coverage and then he takes off and runs on the ground when you get a 4-man rush and he breaks a tackle and he goes for 40 yards. That's why, a quarterback like that gets drafted top 5 because it's so much stuff that he can do. It's so much he brings to the table. It's terrifying.
Well, 1.2 Shelby mentioned, I think it was like Anthony Richardson's 18th or 19th overall start since college. Like he has not played a lot of football. And another thing, Shelby, you said he can outthrow the covers. And I just want people to know there might be 3 quarterbacks in the NFL that can outthrow a coverage. I mean, this is not something that defenses week after week are going against quarterbacks where, they can overthrow the coverage. This is an elite few that can do that. And Anthony Richardson is in there. All right, let's change the downs now. Let's move over to the Denver Broncos with 3 former Broncos. How did we see the Broncos' first opportunity in taking that L against the Seattle Seahawks? Chris, let's start with you.
Man, it was a tough game because the defense played so good in the first half, and the special teams played great throughout the whole game. I would give them an A because they set us up in great positions where the defense can
pass back. Woo!
Yeah, to get some, to be able to get some safeties, to be able to score, on defense. And we had great field position all game. We just didn't take advantage of it by Riley Dixon. So it was just one of those typical games, going on the road to Seattle. Broncos history, we have bad history going to Seattle, I think. They used to smack us going down there. So it's always tough going down there. And it was exactly what I expected. Bo Nix was inconsistent. The game seemed way faster than what he's seen in the preseason and in practice, going against real DBs. Those guys are, all 4 threes back there, with Woolen, Witherspoon and Trey Brown. So I love their secondary and what they were able to do out there. And we just got to get some separation in the receiver room and get this run game going. The run game was non-existent. Bo didn't have any help that way in that direction. And that's what they're going to have to do next week versus Steelers, or it's going to be a TJ White show or a TJ Watt show.
You got to run the damn ball.
Hello.
You got to give your rookie quarterback going against an experienced secondary. And they're young, but those young guys have played a lot of plays over there in Seattle. And you have, like you said, a bunch of dudes who run 4.2, 4.3.
Yeah.
Like there's like you have to be on time when you're playing a team like that, because if you lost it a little bit too much, like you saw, it's a pick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Reek gonna get there. You know, they don't call him Reek the Freak for no reason. You know what I mean? He's a doggy out there. And then, you know, like a rookie quarterback's best friend is running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And the run game was non-existent. When you have your rookie quarterback throwing the ball over 40 times, 40 dropbacks, that's not good. You're not giving him a chance. And no matter, you know, you can cry, like, no matter what they were doing, crowning him as early as we're saying he's the second coming, he may be, but there needs to be a balanced attack for him to be successful in this league. Otherwise, it's going to be a dismal rookie year for him.
Well, I think, you know, three things come to mind for me with the Broncos playing the Seahawks. Number one, the defense played out of their mind. I mean, you get a safety, you get that many sacks, like you should win the game. Period. I don't care if you're on the road or not. I'm with Chris as well. Special teams was A+. You know, rarely are you going to get the little tap back football that gets down on the one, some great punts. But you guys are absolutely right. Shelby touched on it. You've got to run the football, and especially in that third quarter, the Broncos just went away from it. And I understand Sean Payton's more of a pass-centered guy. I mean, a lot of offensive coordinators are. That's also the job of the lineman to go grab the coach and say, hey, pull your head out of your ass. It's time to run the ball. And so I don't know if the leadership on the offensive line feels comfortable doing that. And I'm actually okay with Bo Nix against this defense. I mean, you guys mentioned you got Woolen, Witherspoon. Those guys are top defensive backs in the NFL. They're not middle of the pack. Those are top guys. And what Bo Nix learned is that you cannot hesitate in the NFL. I mean, a couple of times he's double pumping, kind of that half throw. You can't do that. Make the decision, right or wrong, just make that decision. Because one of the things, whether it's defensive backs, offensive linemen, defensive line, every single person in the NFL who's starting in the game has an incredible ability to recover, right? And that's what you guys are kind of talking about. Woolen's going to, if he makes a mistake, he's going to be back in a second. He's not leaving further down, right? Like you have got to understand that people in the NFL, elite athletes, can recover faster than anything you've seen if they make a mistake, and they're willing to do it in the play. And I think that's what Bo saw. That will help him. I don't think he's going to go against the secondary as tough in the next few weeks, but he actually learned some lessons that I think are valuable early in the year that hopefully lead to some wins beyond.
But also, you got to look at it like this too. If you're not going to be able to run the ball, then you got to have some quick wide receiver screens, something that's you know, like how the Cowboys did this week. You know, if the run's not working, we got to do quick passes and stuff on first down to at least make it 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5. You know, it's all about the sticks, staying manageable, trying to make it that you're not stuck in 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 10s. You know, you want to make the reads easy. And like, you know, everyone knows if your run game's not working, screens are your best friend. You know, screens, like anything that kind of just gets the ball out of QB's hands quick and that they can get 4, 5, 6 yards a play. And that's kind of like the first down run.
Right. I think there were 17 third downs, Shelby, like you're saying, and I think they're all 3rd and longs.
Yeah.
Majority was 3rd and long.
And that's not where you want to live, especially with that noise. You guys know, playing in Seattle, on 3rd down, it's like it reaches 10 more decibels. I don't know how they do it, man, but you can't hear. And now you're looking downfield. You're like, the receivers are saying, where's the marker so I can fix my route? Now you know it takes time. The longer developing pass plays, not a place to be on the road, right, with that noise. So there were some mitigating factors that made it tougher for the Broncos. But I think this is a loss that will actually help them win games going down the line. All right, let's flip the down again. We had some big contracts come down here in the last couple weeks. Dak Prescott, Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams getting the bag, Patrick Surtain, excuse me. Which of the new contracts to the players who got the bag, boys, is going to have the most impact on their team?
Pat Surtain, no question, because it's going to end up being a steal of a deal because he still had money left on his deal from, you know, his rookie deal. Mm-hmm. So the market is just going to keep exploding, and they already locked down their future, you know, a year early. So with the player he is and the difference maker that he is on the field, he can pretty much erase your number one, and it doesn't matter really who you are. And that's the biggest thing is he's that much of a difference difference maker that the fact that you got this lockdown early and then just wait, you're just going to see it later and later where the markets are going to keep going up and people are going to be like, damn, that was a great deal. They got that deal done at the right time.
It already happened. It already happened.
It was perfect.
It already happened, Shelby, with Jalen Ramsey. He already signed a 3-year deal extension that was more than Pat Surtain. So I was kind of upset with that because, you know, when you have Pat Surtain, he's supposed to be like the generational guy that ups the market, you know, to make it crazy where nobody can reach it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Type talent. That's the type of guy he is. So, you know, I was hoping he can get close to 30, you know, but Ramsey upped it up a little bit. But, you know, Surtain was supposed to be that guy. But I think it was huge for the Cowboys to get the deal done with Dak. You know, Dak was going to be the highest paid quarterback. Oh, well, he is now anyways, but no telling what it would have been on the free agency market. Woo! So that was huge. That was huge for Jerry Jones to get that deal done.
It's hard to tell people outside of football, like they got a deal on Dak Prescott, right? Provided he stays healthy, that you go to free agency, that's a different number. And I'm with you there, Chris, in terms of Dak Prescott. That just needed to get done for that locker room. I mean, you just don't want
right.
I mean, players understand if the front office isn't committing to the quarterback, how much commitment can you have? It just makes things weird. They ironed that out. But I think Trent Williams signing that deal, getting the money, I mean, that he is a huge piece to that 49ers because you have Trent Williams. You can do the play action game to the short side. You can have a fullback in the game. You're going to have defensive ends shaking in their boots going against. He plays point guard in pickup basketball, fellas. You know, I mean, this is an athlete unlike we've ever seen, a Hall of Famer. I think that was equally as important. But I'm with you guys too. Patrick Surtain getting that money. He could have got, hopefully should have got a lot more. He will have another 2, maybe 3 contracts. But Jalen Ramsey also has longevity that has a price too.
I also think, you know, just thinking of you know, just how when Von signed his deal with the Bills and how it was, you know, huge for the older player. You also have to look at Cam Hayward's deal with the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being an older player, getting 15, 16 million a year as a D lineman, you know, that sets it up that, you know how it is. When you turn 30, they try to say you're old in this league. You can't play anymore. We don't need to pay you anymore.
Yeah.
We'll find somebody else who's younger that can do what you do. But as you can see, the older players out here still doggies. They're still doing what they need to do, and they're starting to get rewarded for it too. So Cam Hayward's deal is a big deal too because it helps up the veteran market. And it's not just D linemen, it's everywhere because it's showing that it's still a place for vets in this league, even though with the new CBA, it kind of has been pushing vets out of the league. But everyone knows there's nobody that plays like how those older vets do, and so you need them around.
Mm-hmm.
That's only for the D-line and O-line, though, Shelby. They don't treat that for the skilled players.
You mean the unskilled players? Excuse me, us big fellas, we can move. All right, you know, y'all can't even run with a weight vest on. All right, boys, we got our 2-minute drill coming up. Our 2-minute drill here. Chris, let's start with you. Who do you got for an underdog this week in the NFL?
Man, I'm gonna go with the Broncos. Man, we at home going against the Steelers. I know they're gonna be the underdog after losing to Seattle, but I think we take home field and we set the tone this year that we're gonna protect the house.
Shelby, let's get your opinion on the Cincinnati Bengals as Joe Burrow is now 1-8 in weeks 1 and 2 in his NFL career.
Man, it's the same old problem with the Cincinnati Bengals. As long as you can't protect them, you know, you're not going to win games. And that O-line has always been a problem. You know, remember how that Super Bowl went when, you know, if they could have protected them, Jalen Ramsey, you know, you had your receivers running downfield, Jamar Chase running downfield in that Super Bowl wide open and to win the game. And you couldn't protect him, so he ended up getting sacked. And, you know, they keep trying to find these plug-and-play, you know, players, and instead of looking for the long-term answer. And I'm just thinking, until you truly address their O-line issues, you'll never really truly be competitive in the NFL. Look at it. The D-lines are too good now. You have some freak athletes. You have dudes playing D-line that run 4-3, 4-4. I play with Myles Garrett. I've played with Von Miller. I see greatness. I see greatness. And these dudes you keep trying to put up there to block them, it's not going to work. And that's the thing. It's all about everyone wants a quick answer, just like quarterback nowadays. Everybody wants a quick answer, and we're paying anybody at quarterback now, even if you're average. But at tackle, and guard anything, you have these D linemen who are becoming more and more freak athletes. So you need to be able to develop these O linemen. And granted, it's the college game's fault.
Yes.
These guys don't know how to run block. And these guys are senior, and their pass blocking is atrocious even at that. So that's why you're seeing these pass rushers just becoming more and more of a premium because the O-linemen aren't getting better.
To your point, Shelby, on the college game.
Everyone's talking about Joe Alt. He said he had a great day, but that's 1 in a million because most of these O-linemen that come out can't do anything in this league right now. So until the O-lineman development in college actually becomes better, and then we actually have patience with these O-linemen in the league and try to actually develop them, it's going to be a long day for these quarterbacks.
Yeah, you mentioned Joe Alt from Notre Dame. You know what I'm saying? But he's also 6'7", 320 pounds, right? I mean, that's a different guy, right? That's physically a dude. But to your point, Shelby, I think I looked back last year, 70% of the offensive linemen that got drafted, their offense used that hand clap to snap the football. How do you anticipate the snap count for your linemen clapping the ball? That's why they can't run. They don't know how to jump the count. All right, third down here in our 2-minute drill. Fellas, the Nebraska Cornhuskers absolutely harvested the Buffaloes. Chris Harris Jr., what do you make about Deion and the Buffs and that monumental loss to a big rival?
Deion and them just don't have the guys up front. Right, O-line and D-line still. I think it's going to take them. It's going to take 4 or 5 years, to get those guys up to speed and be it like Shelby said. The O-line play is just so bad. So imagine where they're at, right? At the very beginning of it, starting from scratch, they have to rebuild their O-line and D-line. So that's what we're seeing. Nebraska, those guys were tough up front, were physical up front, and the quarterback Sanders, he could make some throws, right? But he just got hot too late. And that D-line was on them too heavy. So it's gonna be a tough year for Colorado. I don't expect too much out of those guys, but I expect Shedeur and Travis Hunter. I expect those guys to go top 5, probably top 10 in the draft though.
But the issue is this: it's really what did Matt Rule take over when he got to Nebraska?
A mess.
We could keep talking about he doesn't have the guys, but if you're trying to live through the transfer portal, there's a reason these guys are transferring. It's not because they were necessarily the all SEC, all Big 10, all Big 12 players. Mm-hmm. If you're going to live in the transfer portal, and like I said before, if you're not going to develop your own guys and you're just going to keep trying to go find the next best thing, it's not going to work out. And with Colorado, it just seems like you said, the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
That they couldn't get any pressure on the D-line. And they couldn't protect on the O-line. And that's not something you're going to find in the portal.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that is going to take your lumps. It's going to take losses. It's going to take you to learn to be a better player for you to get better. And there's no quick answer for O-line, D-line help. But the thing about Matt Rule, I think you have to change your scheme up a little bit, make it easier on them. Don't just let it be a free-for-all for the other team's D-line against your O-line early in the game. Yes, you have to get a little creative with it. When you don't have the O-line and D-line, you have to change it up. You just can't try to run your normal plays and expect things to change. There has to be some type of creativity within your scheme in order to take that pressure off of the guys. And like you said, we can look at the Bo Nix situation in Oregon. You got to do a lot of screens. You got to find things that your guys are good at, and then just keep doing it. And I just think Colorado is going to have to listen and figure out what their guys are good at, and kind of roll with that. Otherwise, it's going to be a long ass year.
Yeah, long year. Two things for me. Two things for me when it comes to CU. Number one, Pat Shurmur is the worst offensive coordinator in football. He's literally been fired from his last 4 jobs. You guys played with anybody that just kept getting fired and all of a sudden was expected to be great? And that goes to Shelby, your point. Hey, look, if you can't run down the middle, here's a pitch. Here's a quick wide receiver screen. Here's a jet sweep. Like, this is not – football is not rocket science. It's not a thing about, I don't have the right guys. All three of us, me on offense, you two on defense, you could get a defense right. I could get an offense right regardless of the personnel. But that's where Pat Shurmur's incompetency has really shown through, and it showed in a big way against Nebraska. And the second part about the Buffs, man, these guys are distracted. And all three of us know how easy it is to be distracted, especially if you win over North Dakota State like they did, which is a good program, and almost lost that game. But it's too easy to be distracted. And you have to have some veterans who are putting away the video cameras. I mean, guys, you've never gone on the field after a game to make social media hits that have nothing to do with football, right? I mean, this is a distracted team that is isolated in Boulder, Colorado, and they have no concept of the detail and attention to detail it takes to win. And I think the biggest disconnect, Deion Sanders knows that. And he was also one of those talented players who things came easy to him mentally. I mean, he knew how to break down pitchers in baseball. I don't know that he's communicated the level of attention to detail you have to be successful, and that is what has stymied the Buffs. Well, we scored on our third down, boys. Congratulations on our first show. We're the Harrises, and we'll be back next week for some more hot football talk with the great insight from two champions and a current NFL player.